And we are live on this Wednesday, April 23, in the year of our Lord 2025. I think it's my brother's wedding anniversary. Mine was on the 18th of April. Let's tell the phone to be quiet. Do not disturb. So much is happening and has been happening. Well, hello, Jason. 84 degrees and sunny. Well, today it's cloudy and breezy here in Southern California. On this mountain, it's kind of chilly. Maybe 50, 55 degrees. The cats came in probably because one of the neighbors was making a lot of noise throwing trash into a dumpster. Cats are funny that way. Real danger, they'll run toward it. Something not dangerous, they run away. This is not my usual day and time, but what the heck? My internet is working. Yay, hooray! Well, let's see, the Pope has passed away. They're saying Saturday night, but I believe it was actually the wee hours of Easter morning. They did say after midnight, but did they mean Friday into Saturday? Or I don't think so. Didn't he meet with Vice President Vance on Saturday? Or maybe he died late Sunday. Yeah, he did an Easter something appearance, apparently. So maybe it was really into the wee hours of Monday. Anyway, Pope Francis is gone. He never should have been elected Pope, and I'll tell you why. Nothing to do with his politics, religion, etc. Well, kind of religion. He was a Jesuit, and traditionally they never elect a Jesuit to be Pope. The Jesuits are those guys in the black robes, and many of them are very intelligent, well-educated scientists. They have a fantastic telescope, I think, in Arizona, where Jason, aka Ren, lives. I guess he's really riding wrench there. And he has a wrench. Okay. As part of his name. Anyway, alongside the Pope in his white robes, there is always a black Pope. Not a black African or a black Hindu, but a man in a black robe because he's a Jesuit. And he's known as the Black Pope, and they always have one. Melody changed the name again, eh? Well, anyway, I learned this from Father Malachi Martin when he was rather frequently interviewed, especially by Art Bell. He was a Jesuit who got permission to give up his vow of poverty so he could leave the what he considered a sort of rat's nest and make a living with public appearances and books and stuff. He had to get permission from the Pope, and I don't remember which Pope it was. but it was not Pope Francis. And then Father Malachi Martin, that tough old Irishman, fell down the stairs, broke his hip, and died. And some people say he was pushed. Yeah, Art Bell would not allow people to quote scripture on his show unless they were Malachi Martin. Father Malachi Martin was exempt from that rule. Well, it might have been simply that it uses up time and people can look up the Bible themselves, or it might be that Art Bell was not particularly friendly to Bible teaching. Who knows? I called his show once. I told him that at the time I had a cat named Cubby, and I told him the cat was a baseball fan and a Mouseketeer, hence the name Cubby. You know, the Chicago Cubs, and then Cubby on that Disney thing with the little kids. He was Annette Funicello's TV boyfriend when they were little kids. Well, yeah, Malachi Martin. Father Malachi Martin followed the Catholic ritual. There's a number of flaws in that, but the main thing is you don't need all that falderall. What you need is, you have no power over me. I belong to Jesus Christ, and the power of Jesus Christ forces you to leave and never come back. And Martin was right about one thing. Once you've cast out the demon, you have to also tell the demon never to come back, always in the power of the name of Jesus Christ. And believe me, before I really, truly, actually believed and didn't just give it lip service, I tried and tried just using the name of God to cast out demons, and they would leave, but eventually they'd come back. Yeah, the Holy Spirit in some doctrines is Jesus. I don't think so. Jesus said the Father would send the Spirit to protect us and help us after he left. And if you're a Trinitarian, there's three aspects of God: the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost or Holy Spirit. Yeah, well, the Catholics have some things that I believe are wrong. I never had to do their ritual. I just told them when some demon said, "Now I've got you," I said, "No, you don't. I belong to Jesus Christ." And it shriveled and dried up and slunk away, kind of walking backwards, and poof, disappeared. And that one never came back. So, you don't have to have all the rites and rituals and fancy language and Latin and even scripture, which, at least for us, is a translation anyway. And there's at least half a dozen English translations. I did message Freeman and Witta, but they probably are not watching their phone. That's okay. I just had to come on and see if the internet works, and it does. So far, almost 10 minutes without a glitch. Wow. What else is happening? Oh, You know, for decades, activists and protesters and lawyers and um, nonprofit organizations in these mountains have been raising awareness and filing lawsuits because ever since Nestle bought our local bottled water company, Arrowhead, please don't buy Arrowhead water, it's crap. They have been using approximately 10 times as much water as they're allowed to take from our mountains. Actually, building wells and adding pumps and claiming, oh, that isn't a well because it's horizontal. Well, it's a horizontal well. They aren't allowed to use wells. They're supposed to just gather whatever comes down the mountain in a natural stream. And there's a legal and contractual limit on how much water they can take. Well, they've been contributing to drought and fire hazards and uh, the decline of native animals, especially endangered species, by stealing water. Well, just recently, we finally, I think about a year ago, maybe 2 years, got a court ruling that Nestle has to stop it. Now, I think they should be stopped entirely because they've already taken much more than their limit. But no, they're just supposed to take only what the contract says they can take, and only by the means that they use to take water. They haven't stopped. They're violating the court order and the contract and the law, and there are no consequences. So please do not buy Arrowhead water. They do that to communities all over the world where it's even worse. They take away the fresh water for indigenous communities who depend upon that water and sell it back to them in plastic bottles. And when they can't afford it, all that's left, if there's any water at all, is polluted. It's disgusting. Well, anyway, no consequences for Nestle. They just keep on ripping us off. You know, we've spent thousands and thousands in private donations and donated attorney services and all sorts of demonstrations and protests, always peaceful, you know, but letting people know, letting the news media know they're stealing our water, and we've had it with that. Not only that, they take our beautiful spring water that runs over rocks and has wonderful, healthful minerals, and they use, I forget what it's called again, distillation. In other words, boiling it and gathering the steam to take out all those minerals and sell us crap that has no real flavor. If anything, it tastes bad and it doesn't have the healthful minerals. I've found that sparklets taste good. You know what they do? They take the well waters that they're allowed to take and they add minerals to make it more healthful. Did I say star-kissed? That's the tuna fish. What is that bottled water called? Shoot. It's their competitor and much smaller. Not Crystal Geyser, not Arrowhead, not Pure Life, not Fiji, not Aquafina. I don't see them named here. Let's see. Maybe they don't exist anymore. Google isn't showing me the one I'm looking for. Alphabetical. That's nice. Minerality Plus. Oh, come on. All right, back up. Delivered on trucks. By trucks. Delivered by trucks. Sparklets. Yay, sparklets. Thank you, Red. You beat Google to the punch. Yeah, it's sparklets. Love sparklets now, and it used to be the one that was not as good. Anyway, whatever. Now I just use a pure filter pitcher for the tap water here. Not that there's anything really wrong with it, but it tends to taste kind of bad. Kind of like salty, but not like table salt. It's hard to describe. Yeah, Nestle is the company that got in trouble for the baby formula problems in India and nearby poor countries. They convinced women that bottle feeding was better than breastfeeding for their babies, but they didn't. What they sold them was the powder that had to be mixed with water. Well, these women could not afford to buy bottled water, and the natural sources of water were polluted and babies were dying. They got in big trouble for that. But nobody went to jail. They paid some fines. It was horrible. I think that was crimes against humanity, but what do I know? I'm not a lawyer. Oh, and don't talk to me about environmentalists. Well, we did use environmentalism and our local chapter of, oh dear, Audubon Society, the bird people, to slow down some really misguided construction projects on these mountains. And one in particular was going to divert a creek and send it through a concrete, basically, not a sewer line, what do you call it? A wastewater thing. And, they wanted to flatten the top of a mountain peak so they could build a big, huge stadium on top of it, all kinds of stuff. The other one, we were kind of starting to lose. I thought it was a good idea, really, to have a camp for young people from Los Angeles who were in trouble with the law but not particularly violent, juvenile delinquents, but not in that location for a variety of reasons. And then eventually it was discovered that it's right next to an earthquake fault, one of the little ones coming off the San Andreas. We're not on the San Andreas here, we're on the branch called San Jacinto Fault. I'm sick and tired of people calling it San Jacinto. It's Spanish, and the J in Spanish is Jota, not Yoda. San Jacinto. Hi, Pio Pio. I'm ranting and raving about environmentalists. Well, anyway, they couldn't use that land for a big old building for juvenile delinquents to have summer camp because of the earthquake fault. So now it's one of those natural organic kind of burial places. They don't bury bodies, they bury the ashes when someone is cremated. And you get a tree, you get your own tree when you die. It's kind of neat, kind of cool. Anyway, it wasn't because of environmentalism, it was because of an earthquake fault. And then I really want to rant and rave about environmentalism, especially with Klaus Schwab, Klaus Eat the Bugs Schwab stepping down from the World Economic Forum, the WEF. Now, there are some environmental groups who have their heads on straight. What is that one called where they save the whales? Greenpeace is not one of them anymore. That's why their founder quit. So that's what he says. I'm not an expert, but I do know that they started teaching high school kids like me environmentalism in around 1970 or thereabouts. And many of the environmental groups, they want us to save the earth from, let's see, the next ice age, global warming, climate change, pollution, etc. But saving it for whom? Who benefits when they save the earth? Well, they are not saving it for people. They're saving it from people. They want us all to go away, go live on Mars or some other planet or in a space station in orbit. Or better yet, they want us to be unalive. Of course, the small number of elites and a few useful servants to do everything for them because they're lazy, they can stay here on the planet that they're saving. But, there's something like 8 billion people on this planet. They want to cut it down to about a tenth of that or even less. How do you do that? How do you do that without committing crimes against humanity? Well, eat the bugs is a good step because there are a variety of health problems that come from relying on insects for protein. In fact, there are, tribes in Asia and Africa who will eat bugs, but only if they can't get anything else. Or if the production company pays them to eat bugs on camera to show people a natural history lesson. Well, I guess Freeman and Witta didn't get the message, but I got Jason, aka Ren, and I got Pio, so I'm glad you guys are here. I've got a rant and rave. I've got to. Let me see. Did I ever give Jason a wrench? Oh, yeah, you are a standard moderator. Good for you. Hope your Uber reservation pays you well and gives you a good tip. I always try to tip people who are in service industries. Wow. Oh, I got a very generous gift from a listener named Brian. I don't have permission, at least I don't think I do, to give his full name. But I think he's a stand-up comedian, so I have to check out his work on the internet and see. But the message that came with it was, let me get it so I can read it to you. Support from the Full Disclosure Movement. That is so cool. I wish I could disclose more. Oh, come on, evil machine. Get me back to YouTube. And wow. Wow. So every year I have to pull the weeds that the inspectors from code enforcement can see, even though the ones they cannot see need it more urgently. They're behind my house. My process is to start at the house and work my way away from the house, pulling weeds closest first. They're the most hazardous. If the weeds catch fire, they're right on top of the house. Anyway, that's just a minor gripe. Last year I got really dumped on because they were called out so many times to the house next door. For good reason there. And they told me I had my washing machine sitting outside. And they told me it was an eyesore. So I got a piece of green shade cloth that's for gardening. You know, you put it up on on top of like a greenhouse type structure, so the sun isn't as mean to your plants. And I covered it with that. And then I put my Weber Kettle barbecue next to it, so it didn't look like an old appliance just sitting there. Well, the darn thing doesn't work anymore, so I have to get it hauled away. I'm hoping that if I put it out front where they can see it, the guy who goes around collecting scrap metal will take it. Instead of me paying him, he fills his truck with scrap metal and he gets the recycle place to pay him. I gave him an appliance last year, one that was dead and had to go. So anyway, I've been pulling weeds, but this year they're much bigger and thicker than last year, and their roots are tougher. So I'm using the pokey thing for gardening to get their roots loosened up, and I'm pulling them out, and then I notice there's these ants crawling up my arms, and they're biting me because they're red ants. So even though I don't like to use chemicals, I put some Terro, Terro, ant poison that Ace Hardware sold me. What they do is they eat it and they die, and their queen eats it and quits making new ants. The thing about ants is you can kill them, hundreds and thousands of ants, but the queen ant just keeps making more. But with this stuff, apparently it tastes good, so they take it to their queen. The queen ant's kind of like a queen bee, makes all the babies. And I hate to do it, but I have to pull those weeds, and I can't have a swarm of ants biting me while I pull them. One year, before I understood what was happening, I had so many on me that I had to jump on the shower to wash them off with water. This time I noticed sooner and just rubbed my arms and got out of there. Wow. Anyway, the garden is recovering from the Rosebush massacre. I don't know what part of pull up the weeds means hack up my rose bushes or rip out all my irises. She even pulled up the daffodils. Daffodils are not weeds, they're flowering plants that grow on bulbs. This year I'm going to get some seeds planted and have a real veggie garden. Well, hi, Dawn. Welcome in. I've been ranting and raving about Nestle, about eat the bugs and environmentalism and the Pope and demons. Wow. Oh, nice in Pennsylvania, eh? Well, we have a storm on the way. It should be here tomorrow and last until Friday. Into, or until. Yeah, into. Last into Friday. All the talking heads on the news and talk shows have got me talking weird. By the way, until is not pronounced intol unless you're on the news or a talk show and nobody dares to correct you. I am going to is not I'm gonna or I'm gunny. Now, it's okay if you're just an ordinary person talking, that's fine. But when I was growing up, the people on the news spoke standard English, not highfalutin, not great big words that they used wrong and couldn't pronounce. Now I'm trying to think of an example and I can't. I know it when I hear it. You know, if you're going to use big words, use them right. You don't even have to get a dictionary, just Google it. Define whatever word you want to use, and it'll tell you. I remember grading an essay from a college student who was about to graduate with a 4-year degree, and he wanted the word precedent, as in preceding, a precedent, but he spelled it president, like the president of the United States. It wasn't just misspelled, it was the wrong word. Lucky Dawn is sitting in the sun. Hi, Tutu. You want to say hi to people? They want to see you. Yeah, that's Tutu. He's a boy. I thought he was a girl when he was little. He's a boy. When the vet neutered him, I found out he wasn't a girl. Yes, Tutu's a good kitty. It's very sweet and loving. Where's Tora? Oh, there she is. I don't know if there's enough light on her, but let's give it a try. There she is, curled up in a sunny spot on my chair. I took off the blue chair cover because it was in sad shape and covered in foxtails and burrs that the cats tracked in from outside. There she is, such a sweet kitty cat. Okay. Now, Sweetie is black and is in the real dark, so I'm sure you can't see her, but there she is. You can kind of see her paws and a white hind foot. Yeah, they're nice kitties. And of course, Smokey Sue and 3C are in here. 3C is 3CPO. 22 is number 2. Before they had names, they were number 2 and number 3. Number 1 was Patches, and she's in kitty heaven. She had some kind of either injury or birth defect. I'm not sure which, but she didn't make it. I thought she had a broken hip, but the vet took a couple x-rays and said, no, nothing's broken. Oh, well, cats break your hearts. I don't know if you saw it, but I changed the thumbnail for this show to a photo of Uncle Tiger. He's in kitty heaven too. I think a coyote killed him. When a neighbor at my other house in a different neighborhood was feeding raccoons and, of course, putting out cat food for raccoons and then complaining that cats were coming around to eat the cat food. Anyway, the coyotes got quite a few cats, both strays and ferals, and one of mine, Uncle Tiger. He's Uncle Tiger because his sister, Smokey the First, Smokey Bear, had kittens, and Smokey didn't trust me with her kittens. If I, went into the kitten box and petted them, she'd move them all and hide them. But it was okay for this big old tomcat to hop in the box with them. So he became Uncle Tiger. And I got her spayed afterward. She was already with Kitten when I got her. My son just showed up with these cats. I think there were 4 of them originally. He said, here, this friend of his, I won't name her, but he said she had too many cats. Now, I had Cubby and Tuffy, the original Tuffy, and he brought me 4 more cats, and one of them was about to pop out kittens. She had 4. I got homes for 2, and then kept Blackie and Inky. I was running out of good names for cats. Oh well. Anyway, that was Smokey Bear. Also a long-haired, fluffy gray kitty. And with a catitude. You ought to see Smokey Sue attacking the little pink dot that the laser pointer makes. She's ferocious. What are you doing, Tutu? Don't claw my chair. Oh, they go nuts over the laser pointer. I have one that's just like you push the button and it runs for about 5 minutes and this mirror moves the dot around. But they like it better when I have to point the little one. Of course, cats don't like to make it easy for their human slaves. They like this one better. Oh, strings. And oh, I must have put it away. I finally got one of those things with a stick and then a string hangs down with a little cat toy on the end of the string. Oh, they love to play with that. Thing is, when they catch it, they won't give it back. Cats are not philanthropists. They are not charitable. Right, Smokey Sue? Yeah, you. Smokey Sue. Hey, you. Don't look away. Say hi to your fans. Yeah, you're a kitty cat. Yeah. She's an attention hog. She's fat, but her face is still skinny. All right. Oh, and boy, can she purr up a storm. Oh, wow. I finally got curtains up over the kitchen window, but that, I can't point to it. At least not on camera. That big bright square. No, it's disappeared. Wrong way. Above my shoulder. Wrong arm. That's what's wrong. That is the other window, and then over to the right, it's backwards to me, is a wall. So you're not looking at my door at all. You're looking at the window. Oh well, the door's. Oh well. I hate the fact that the camera is backward from. Well, see, it isn't backward. A mirror would show everything backward and I'd know what to do. The image on the screen is not backward, so I don't know which arm to raise or where to point. Anyway, yeah. Oh boy. YouTube says I have 3 listeners and 2 likes. I'm not monetized, so it doesn't really matter. I don't know how many subscribers I have, but I'm sure it's less than 1,000. Oh boy. So the really wacko environmentalists want to save the world, not for people. 6:59, thanks, Dawn. It hasn't moved much lately, but that's okay. Oh, I have 3 likes now. Thank you. They want to save the world from people, not for people. They want us all to go away. You know, go live on Mars, live in a space station in orbit, or just plain stop living. 8 billion people. That's too many in the whole world. All could live comfortably in Alaska or in Texas. We wouldn't even need both. Or China. They could really live comfortably in China. It's a great big country. But of course, that isn't what the wackos want. They want us to eat the bugs, own nothing, and you will be happy. Right, you betcha. Says the guy who lives in a mansion, not more than one mansion, by the way, flies on private jets, has servants to do everything for him. All he has to do is show up 2 or 3 times a year and give a speech, and they pay him for that. Do you know Klaus Schwab's father was a Nazi? Apple don't fall far from the tree. Well, I heard that, by the way, from Russell Brand. I wanted to watch retro stuff, but it was stuff I'd seen before. I like let's see, James, the original BCP. He had been banned before things changed, and another YouTuber took up his original name of Black Conservative Patriot, and he says he's not upset about that. It's, he wishes the guy really good luck and success. So now he's the, how does that go? Based Conservative Patriot. It's still BCP. But over the past few days, most of the stories have been pretty much the same. So I watched, I forgot the name of the show again, but talking about Meghan Markle losing all her contracts because of her attitude. Her poor ratings for With Love Macon couldn't possibly be because the show is crappy. No, it's toxic fans and biased critics who just hate women. No, her show is crappy. They rented a house to shoot the show in, and she pretends that she cooks her own meals and cleans her own house. And yeah, right, you betcha. Now, I'm not saying that the jobs of the royals are easy. They are not. But they don't cook unless they just, I want to. Get the chef to show me how to cook this food that I like. But they don't have to, and they don't do it every day, 3 meals a day. And they certainly don't clean their own houses. They might clean up a small mess, as the day goes along. Sure. But I don't see them hauling out the vacuum cleaners and the dusters and brooms and mops. How was Easter? Quiet and enjoyable, except for, of course, the media going nuts. Oh, how dare J.D. Vance visit the Pope? He's in poor health, and our vice president went and visited him. The guy was 88 years old, and he was near the end, and he knew it. He checked himself out of the hospital because he wanted to die at home in the Vatican, and he did. He had a stroke. You know, our community has a sunrise service at the lake at dawn on Easter Sunday, and several churches take turns giving sermons and stuff. But I don't go because it's cold, especially by the lake. But for those who can bundle up and go there, it's a wonderful celebration, and they do put it out on Facebook. I think it's on YouTube as well. Okay, Dawn had a bunch of potato filling and a salad with pickled eggs. Oh, I'm not wild about pickled eggs. I can't eat pickled herring either because it just isn't right for those things to taste like pickles. My mouth and tummy reject them. But I do like a potato salad with lots of mayonnaise and celery and pickles in it, but not pickled eggs. Cucumber pickles. Don doesn't go to church anymore. Went to Catholic school for 8 years. Might start going to church again someday if he finds a cool one. And he says, but I don't know, I'm still a Christian. Oh, the church I liked the best was the one where I got baptized. The Episcopal Church wanted me to take 6 weeks of lessons before I could get baptized. So I just called a local Baptist church and said, okay. They said, okay, come on Sunday morning, and I did. I get there. First off, they're renting or borrowing, not sure which, the chapel at the Episcopal Church because they don't have their own building yet. And I walk in and everyone there is black. And this was 1973. But Phil was just really anxious about my soul and wanted me baptized. So anyway, it was a Baptist church, Southern Baptist. And I thought, oh boy, I'm not prejudiced, but I'm scared. And they were the nicest people you ever met. And I was dunked in a backyard swimming pool, the kind of baptism where if you struggle to come up, they hold you down longer to get all of that sin out of you. Well, I wasn't stupid enough to struggle. But I remember thinking the assistant pastor had a wristwatch on, and I was hoping it was water resistant. Kind of like Forrest Gump. Singing and praying for shrimp at the Baptist church. Okay. It was wonderful, and I did attend a few times, but I could not get Phil to go there. He would once in a while go, not for services, but to the Episcopal Church to have conversations with the pastor. I wasn't impressed with Episcopalians. They're Catholic light. See, the Anglican Church in England is the Catholic Church, but instead of the Pope, they have the Queen or the King. Well, the Episcopal Church is the Anglican Church without the King or the Queen. So it's Catholic light. And when they said I had to take 6 weeks of lessons, I was like, oh, come on. I suffered through a year of sixth grade in a Baptist church school where I couldn't get a decent grade because I wasn't baptized and my parents didn't come to church and donate money. I mean, like in Christian history, I got an A on every test. In the Bible studies, I got almost all A's. I was in the school choir and gave up half my lunch hour for music appreciation, and I was in the Sunday school choir. You know what my grade in music was? C. A lousy C. But I learned a lot about the Bible and Christian history. Not that I remember much of it now. I'm still studying and some of it sticks. Oh, Humpty Dumpty in Oakland. I haven't read it, but I understand it's a good book. But I really liked Confessions of a Craft Artist. But I don't know. I think my favorite is the one that I'm blanking on now. I'm blanking on the title. One of his non-science fiction books. I think Humpty Dumpty in Oakland, is that the one where he ends up, he's at like some kind of party and he ends up in the closet banging his former teacher from when he was in high school? Oh, that was the other one. The one where he sells typewriters. Oh, a used car salesman. Okay. What's the one where he sells typewriters? And his partner or manager sends him out of state to sell typewriters that are defective. Oh well. It'll come to me after I hang up the YouTube and give up. I really do like the God, come on, brain. Oh, your favorite science fiction is the Galactic Hot Eater. The Transmigration of Bishop Timothy Archer is a really good book, but I don't think it's science fiction. It's so different from his other work. It's as if, and it probably is, that his attempts at mainstream literature finally matured into a style that I absolutely love. He reminds me of F. Scott Fitzgerald in some ways. I think my favorite science fiction book would have to be The Unteleported Man. It was the first one I ever read. I'd never heard of him, and when I met him, I didn't remember the author's name of The Unteleported Man. But of the Valis books, the first one he wrote was actually Radio Free Albemuth. Where did I meet Phil? A private party, with people that neither one of us really knew. We each knew Ginger. He had dated her and she dumped him and he wanted her back. Ginger had driven the school bus when I was in high school. And anyway, she wasn't having him. She later told me she dumped him because he wasn't any good in bed. I didn't think that was all that important, but she did. Oh, and then when I found out he wrote Rug, I had read Rug in a book of short stories, and I just went around all day saying, "You wrote Rug? Wow." It's the one where the dog thinks the garbage men are stealing valuable things from his human family. Oh, Don's ex-girlfriend dumped him. Well, I just had different priorities. He was intellectually challenging, and he, of course, knew a lot more than I did. I was barely 18. I had never read anything by F. Scott Fitzgerald, or I think I'd read some short stories by Hemingway. But, it just wasn't on my priority list. Yeah, The Great Gatsby is a great book. Phil used to rave about Tender is the Night. He said it was really about Fitzgerald's wife who suffered from schizophrenia. I still haven't read it. But I did eventually read The Great Gatsby. It was assigned in one of my college courses. I think I had started reading it before that because Phil kept bugging me to read it. But I wasn't into fiction, let alone science fiction, when I was in high school. I was into actual science, mostly physics. And of course, has come a long way since then. I kind of dropped the sciences in college because I just couldn't bring myself to take a course in calculus. I viewed calculus like statistics, lies, damned lies, and statistics. Oh, yeah, I avoid alcohol, but I don't mind people who drink in moderation. Yeah, I actually majored in math in high school. I had 2 years of algebra, a year of geometry, and the toughest one was the year of trigonometry. Oh my. And that was I just did plain geometry and plain trigonometry, on a flat sheet of paper. In college I would have had to take, what do they call it? The 3D geometry, not on a flat plane, but three-dimensional. And it really didn't seem that tough after plane geometry. But I never took the class because I met a man and married him and had a baby. So when I went back to college, I studied German because Phil claimed he could speak German and I wanted to understand him. His German wasn't very good. Just in my first semester, I learned more than he knew. And I wanted to just take an easy course in biology, but the college counselor tricked me into taking the tough course in biology. And the first semester wasn't bad. Our first project in the lab was to make cheese, basically cottage cheese. They called it farmer's cheese, but it was really the same thing. Oh, John wants to learn Spanish and Italian. Yeah, German is a cool language, and for me, it was like speaking English with a funny accent. Now, I do know a little Spanish, but I get confused in Italian because a word that sounds the same as a Spanish word does not mean the same thing. Well, I got stuck in some kind of accelerated course in fourth grade, and they had us learning pre algebra. And the thing is, I was slow. And in grade school, or grammar school, or elementary school, whatever you want to call it, grades 1 through 6, you get 45 minutes for this subject, and no matter where you are, it's over and you go on to the next subject. So I'd be sitting there with the English grammar or spelling done in 15 minutes and bored for half an hour, but I was not allowed to get the algebra book and work on that. And I was really slow in math. But I kind of got the idea. You know, people get confused. What's X? What's Y? Well, those things are just to tell you it's a number. You don't know what the number is, but there's a way you can figure out what that number is. It's kind of like having a blank space in an equation. Like blank times 2 equals 4. Then you put a 2 in the blank. Well, if it's an X or a Y, it's still 2. And that's about all I remember from pre-algebra. What I hated was long division. Long division. Not because it was hard, it wasn't. It was time consuming. And I was not only slow in math, I was slow in handwriting. What you fussing about, Tora? She's fussing. Yeah, you're a cute kitty. You want to say hi to your adoring fans? Do ya? Man, you're in the dark. They can't see your face. Sorry. Oh, there it is, right here. Oh, I'll turn around again. You were in the light a second ago. Tora? She says, no. I'm busy. Yeah, don't bother me, Mom. Yes, you're a cute kitty. Yes, indeed, you are. Yeah, camouflage kitty. That's a good one, Don. Well, wouldn't you know it? My connection is fine at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But at my regular time tomorrow morning, I can guarantee you it'll decide to cut me off in 10 minutes. Go figure. And yet, if at the same time, if I go on Zoom or Locals or Rumble, everything works just fine. Oh, today's Wednesday, I think. Let's see, the computer knows everything. Wednesday, April 23, 1:02 p.m. local time. Oh, and it's 2025, which I just can't believe, but it is. I got a little bonus code in a place called Swag Bucks, where about once a year I actually earn enough points to get $3, sometimes $5. Well, I got 3 swag bucks, which means nothing. It takes like 600 to get $3. But I can get another swag buck by answering the daily poll. Which streaming service do I use the most right now? Netflix, Hulu, Prime, Peacock, Paramount, Disney, Apple. How I don't use a streaming service. Yeah, my sister put me on her family plan for Netflix, but I haven't even looked at it in a year. Well, I don't have to know what day it is, Dawn. I don't even have to know what time it is. I go to bed when I feel like it and wake up when I wake up. But I am getting kind of hungry. All I've had today was a bowl of Cocoa Puffs, of course, with full fat cow's milk. And that I'm really upset because full fat used to be 4% and now it's 3%. I'm going to have to start buying cream or half and half, at least for my cereal. And my Ovaltine, my chocolate malt flavor Ovaltine. Yes, very zen. Well, I don't have to follow the clock, except I do have a doctor appointment coming up to look at this mess on my face. Oh, Dawn has leftover mac and cheese. It's better when it's leftover. Now, oddly, I like it with sliced bologna or cheap hot dogs and ketchup. Gotta have ketchup on your mac and cheese. Although when I actually make it, not just from a box, but with actual cheese and so forth, I put it in a baking pan, sprinkle breadcrumbs and extra cheese on top, and I have the first bite plain before I put ketchup on it. Oh, Dawn likes ketchup or hot sauce. Well, I don't tolerate hot peppers very well. But sometimes I'll fry some Spam and cut it into little chunks and add that to the mac and cheese before I bake it. You gotta fry Spam. It's when it isn't fried, it's nasty. You just put it in a dry frying pan and on low to medium heat and fry out some of that grease. Get rid of the grease and eat the Spam. And Spam is not a bad thing, actually. It's pork shoulder that's been salted and cured. And now it comes in all kinds of flavors, but I like the original. Ooh, mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, and stewed tomatoes. Dawn has a good menu happening there. Yeah, they do love Spam in Hawaii. The thing about Spam is it keeps forever until you open the can. And it really is ham. It's pork shoulder and some salt and I guess spices. I haven't read the ingredients lately. I'm afraid I might find preservatives and chemical additives. Yeah, they love it in the Philippines too and Indonesia. Just a slice of fried Spam and some canned pineapple chunks together. Oh, and or chunks or rings. And if you fry the pineapple in the Spam, in the oil that the Spam leaves behind, oh, fried pineapple is awesome. It's got a special flavor. Just let it get a little bit brown. Yeah, I used to love corned beef hash too. I never did like the roast beef hash. Aw, Theo, thanks for coming in and good night and sleep well. Theo's in Poland. God only knows what time it is there, probably midnight. Yeah, let's do a heart thingy for Pio. Oh, I was really hoping Freeman and Whitham might come in, but they didn't. I can't stay on too much longer. Yeah, Dawn should open a diner. I don't generally have potatoes and mac and cheese together, mashed potatoes. But I have some potatoes and I want to slice them up and make scalloped potatoes. Scalloped apparently means grated or oh no, scalloped is sliced. But I want to make them au gratin, and for years I thought gratin or gratin meant cheese. It doesn't. It means grated. I lost track, Dawn. What did you never have? Pineapples fried? Yeah, I just learned that from Chef Jean Pierre on YouTube. Gratin. Because the French don't pronounce things the way they're spelled. It isn't gratin, it's gratin, even though it's spelled with an I-N. Anyway, it means grated, and you put grated cheese on top of the potatoes. Oh, you never had scalloped potatoes? Mom used to make them usually just with butter, but sometimes she'd sprinkle a little cheese on top. She wasn't generous with cheese, and she didn't buy real butter. It was always margarine. Imagine my surprise when Phil bought butter, not margarine. And the difference, oh man, I'll never go back to margarine. It is not butter. Anyway, okay, I never heard of Mitch Hedberg, but Don says he has a funny joke. Sometimes I put a potato in the oven in case I'm hungry in an hour. Yeah, that's what it feels like. I have a metal skewer that I put through the potato the long way, and it does cook a little faster. Oh, rice is good if you're hungry for 2,000 of something. Yeah, you pretty much have to eat 2,000 grains of rice. I like sticky rice like they use on sushi. I really don't want the fried rice where all the grains are separate and all that stuff. I want sticky rice. And I'll add a little butter after it's cooked. I add a little butter, a little sugar, and a little vanilla. The amount is up to you. I'm not saying how much rice, but while it's hot, I make sure that it melts the butter and I mix it in with a spoon. Ooh, yellow Spanish rice with olives. Now, all the YouTube cooks I've seen making Spanish rice make it with sliced potatoes. And they make sort of, it turns into something kind of like an omelet or a rice pancake, and they flip it over to cook the other side in the frying pan. That isn't what we called Spanish rice when I was a kid. Spanish rice had like tomato sauce and bell peppers and onions. But man, yeah, I'm wondering why two starches, rice and potatoes? Oh, capers. Capers are kind of expensive, but I do have a few left. My problem with capers is the jar, the mouth of the jar is so small, there's no utensil you can put in it to pull out the capers. I have to dump them out in a bowl, and you're supposed to rinse off the brine or oil that they're packed in. I don't bother. The saltier, the better. Oil is good too, olive oil. But like, I have to dump them out of the jar and try to get just as many as I want and then pour the liquid back into the jar. It's a pain. I need to find the little baby spoon that I used to feed my baby son with. It might be small enough to go into the jar, but I don't know where I put it. Wow. I have to paw through more boxes and find things that disappeared 5 years ago when I was out with a broken hip and someone thought it would be helpful to unpack everything I packed up and pack up everything I unpacked, and not in any sort of organized plan, just dump them wherever a random box had a little bit of space in it among the things that were already in the box. Yeah. I had spent hours sorting and organizing my photos and matching them up to the negatives because I took those photos with an actual camera with film in it. And they dumped them all out and didn't even put them into one box. They thought that the cats had peed on the box I had them in. I happen to know that I spilled coffee on that box. The lid was nasty looking, but it was not cat pee, and there was no reason to dump out my photos. That was one of the worst things they did. Another thing is, I finally found the little thing for the, um, oh, cry, Minnie. For it burns. Stero? What do they call that? Sterno goes in there, and it heats up my copper chafing dish. I finally found this part. Can't find the copper chafing dish. No clue what they did with it. I knew where it was before I broke my hip. And I want to use the chafing dish. It keeps food warm. So I can just put a little on my plate and eat it. And instead of putting everything on my plate and it gets cold because I eat slowly. Criminy. I'm hoping that it's in a box in the shed because it certainly is not in the house. I hate people who think it's helpful to do something that you didn't ask them to do and they didn't ask you if you wanted to do them. Like the woman who thought pull the weeds and leave the roses alone meant hack up the roses and leave the weeds alone. And it certainly, pulling weeds did not mean pick up trash by running a steel rake through my irises and ripping off all the leaves from my irises. She even pulled out the dog toys that belonged there among the irises because that's my dead dog's memorial. I couldn't bury him, he was too big. I had the vet dispose of him. Great big 100-pound Rottweiler mix. Nicest dog I ever had. Loving dog. And she piled up the trash along with the yard waste, and in this town we have to keep them separate. Yard waste has to be specially picked up. or delivered to a special collection place with no trash mixed in with it and no yard waste mixed in with your household trash. So, anyway, after I cleaned up all the branches she hacked off my rose bushes, I found my dog's toys and put them back on his memorial among what was left of the irises. The rose bushes are growing back fairly well, and I'm just not going to touch them for at least until this coming autumn. You know, they've had a year to recover and they're kind of recovering, sort of. You don't cut the side branches off your roses. You don't cut them at all in July. You wait till October or at least September when it's cool, not when it's hot. You top them. And then, if some of the side branches are bigger than you want, you can snip off part of them, not go right to the trunk of the rose bush and hack them off there. And I didn't ask her to trim the roses, and I told her not to. She actually cleared a path between two rows of rose bushes, and I don't want a path there. I want the rose bushes to grow together. It's my garden, it needs to be the way I want it. Oh, Don has a rose bush at his parents' house, grows every year. Yeah, and that's the thing, you never cut off a rose bush right at the trunk. You just don't. You cut the branches shorter if you want them shorter, but you don't hack them off. Especially the ones on the side where they have flowers that you can actually reach and pick. The tops of my rose bushes are like 10 or 12 feet. So when they have flowers, they just have flowers. The only way to pick them is to top the rose bushes, to cut the longest upright branches shorter, not completely off. Oh well, they are growing back, but they won't be the same this year, maybe next year. I love roses. You see, I keep telling people I bought all these rose bushes. There's like at least a dozen of them. And they threw in a house with them. I just bought the roses. It's what it feels like sometimes. I bought these rose bushes and they threw in a free house. And this place is about as good as a free house. Oh, Red is the Rose, traditional Irish song. Thank you, Don. There's that movie, probably based on a novel or a story, called The Blue Rose. The knight in shining armor guy, you know, the woman's true love has to find a blue rose because she's dying and the only thing that will save her is a blue rose. And he runs into all kinds of trouble, and at the end he has a blue rose, but I forget exactly what happens, but the blue rose is destroyed just as he's about to bring it to her. So he picks a red rose and shows her the red rose and says, "If you love me, this rose is blue." And she's miraculously cured, and they embrace. No, there are some roses that the developers call blue roses, but they aren't really blue. Some are purple and some are more like black. but they're close. It just, the blue color just doesn't work with roses. I have seen blue irises, but mine are purple. Oh, The Name of the Rose. Yeah, that was a great movie. All about the books. He's always saving the books as in my mind, saving the books as the chapel burns down. Yeah, Sean Connery. What was that movie where Rutger Hauer was riding this gorgeous black horse and he rescues the kid who was stealing food? And Rutger Hauer's character turns into a wolf at night, and his true love, his wife, turns into a hawk in the daytime. No. It was something to eagle or hawk something. Let's see. Come here, Google. Rutger Hauer movie. Lady Hawk. I just remembered it. I don't have to depend on Google. Lady Hawk. Great movie. Didn't have Sean Connery, but Rutger Hauer was amazing too. And I was hooked the minute I saw Sean Connery riding that horse. I forget what breed it was, but it was an amazing black horse with the longest mane and tail you ever saw. Oh, you gotta see Lady Hawk. You know, it's set in the Middle Ages. There's like all these little, kind of like a street fair, but it's a regular market that they have probably on Saturdays. And all these vendors are cooking food and selling it. Yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer. And the actor who played the boy became famous too, but I don't remember his name. I'm not good at names. I can barely remember Rutger Hauer. But it's an amazing movie. So he rescues the boy who's being chased by the people he stole food from, rides away, and makes the boy his servant. In the daytime, he's serving the Rutger Hauer character, and at night, he's serving the lady who turns into a human at night. Because they've been cursed by the evil enemy or whatever, the villain. Yeah. Well, it was in the first 10 minutes that I saw that horse. I love horses. Can't ride them anymore. It hurts my back too much. But I still love them. Okay, it's been an hour and a half. Yeah, I get it, Don. I understand. I read typo too. It's hard to get things right in a chat room when you're trying to hurry. Well, I owned a couple horses. My first horse was like 22 years old, 23 according to his teeth. and I had him less than a year when he had to be put down. He had a broken shoulder that was not going to heal, and he would lie down to sleep at night, and in the morning it took 2 men to get him on his feet again. If he stayed lying down, he could die of pneumonia. Oh, Joker was a very nice horse, but he had health problems already. I really cried over that one, wept and sobbed and everything, got depressed. And then Phil bought me a horse, little bay pony. There's a word for that kind of pony. Anyway, you know, the reddish brown with a black mane and tail. And a big pony, almost a horse. Really a horse breed, but very small. And he had a problem that he reared up. You just get on him and start to ride, and he'd rear up. So I taught him not to do that. Other people were stupid. They'd either get off or fall off, or they'd give up and put him back in his stall. I stayed with him. I had a little stick of bamboo, and I'd whack him between the ears with a bamboo stick because it made noise. He could feel it, but it didn't hurt him. And I knew how to stay on when he reared up. But then when Phil saw him, he said, he insisted I had to sell the pony and get a real horse. So I got a real horse. Chipper was a quarter Appy, half quarter horse, half Appaloosa. And he had been a cutting horse on a ranch in Arizona. And if someone's pet, whether it was a goat or a colt or whatever, you know, anything but a full-sized horse, if it got loose and was they couldn't catch it, I'd just point Chipper's head at it and say, "Go get him," and I'd hang onto the saddle horn and let Chipper do the work. And he'd go get the goat or whatever and herd it back to where we started. He was so smart. But when Phil, because he fell in love with, rejected him, by the way, I had to sell the horse. I couldn't afford to keep him. But I did meet the man who bought him. See, I sold him back to the boarding stables, and they sold him to a man. And I met him, and I knew the horse was in good hands. And he was still pretty young. Chipper was about 6 years old. Oh, Dawn says I should watch The Rider. It's about a true story about a rodeo rider. I got to see, what's his name? Forgot his name, but a really famous rodeo rider at the Anaheim Convention Center. They turned it into a rodeo. I don't know if they call it arena or what, but you know, a dirt floor and everything. Larry Nahan, N as in Nancy, Ahan. He was the world champion that year. He rode bareback bucking broncos. He rode bucking bulls. He did roping. He was amazing. Concrete Cowboy? I haven't seen that. I did see Rhinestone Cowboy. It wasn't exactly about horses and cowboys, though. I thought it would be, and it wasn't. What's the one? Oh, Rhinestone Cowboy is not the one I saw. What? Rhinestone Cowboy is about a cowboy who's an old drunk who just makes public appearances. What was the one where? Oh, Midnight Cowboy. That's the one I saw. But see, Glenn Campbell made the song Rhinestone Cowboy famous. Okay, I'm at an hour and 40 and tired and hungry, but I'm very glad that all of you came in, and thank you. I'm amazed at how talented Glenn Campbell really was. I almost said John Campbell. He's a doctor on YouTube. Uh, Also a good guy, but not a singer. If you um, get a chance to see Glenn Campbell and what's his name? Well, there's a duet, a guitar duet doing Ghost Riders in the Sky. If you just search YouTube or whatever for Glenn Campbell, Ghost Riders in the Sky, they don't sing it, they just play the tune. It's so awesome, and both of them are amazing. The other guy, his famous song was Yesterday When I Was Young. So maybe Google will tell me who he was. All I can think of is Charlie Pride, and that's not him. Oh, darn, it's a song by, Roy Clark. Roy Clark. They're amazing on the guitar. You know, not the greatest singers, but oh my God, the guitar fingering and everything. Oh, Johnny Cash covers it as well. Okay, I gotta run. I gotta get out of here and get something to eat. All I've had today was a bowl of Cocoa Puffs. One of my guilty pleasures. Sinful, even. Nothing but corn and sugar and a little cocoa powder. But I do love it. Yeah, have a great day, and you too, get some good foods. And I should be back tomorrow morning, internet permitting, around 8 a.m. Pacific time. See ya.